of, your environment, your network. So you have a beehive. Tell us about the beehive as well.
Okay, so if maybe I could just rewind a little bit and then so that I can answer this properly. So we've talked about two things. One, we've talked about the paradigm through which a paradigm that informed my thinking as I was writing the book and bringing the concept of cross-pollination, right? And that is Africology. That is the paradigm that informed my thoughts. And then the concept itself that I was bringing across, which is cross-pollination. Now, all of that is a deviation from the norm, and it cannot exist within current systems. And so instead of complaining about how systems out there may not cater for what we're trying to introduce, rather create an ecosystem of our own design that caters for exactly what we're trying to introduce, structure it in a way that works for us, in a way that is inclusive, in a way that pushes principles of, advances principles of collaboration and communal way of doing things. So all of us who identify as cross-pollinators, we then are invited to be part of that ecosystem in what we call the beehive. So in the beehive, there's a whole lot of activities. Everyone has roles, activities, and tasks and assignments, and there's opportunities for everyone, and all of us are constantly busy trying to make things happen. So whether you're in training, in coaching, you're in whatever form of development, you're invited to be a part of the beehive, as long as you identify yourself as a cross-pollinator. So in the beehive, then that's a space for us to then do the cross-pollination work using Africologist approach to learning and development. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that means that, so everyone has a role, and also everyone, so the role that they take on is the one that they are comfortable with.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And in my view, I think that is the future of work. So instead of me starting up a company and I say I'm building an empire, I want to dominate the whole world. All of those things, in my view, going forward, they won't have much space for the world that is developing right now. My interpretation is the world systems, the structures that were based on what the old industrialist type of thinking, industrial revolution type of thinking, most of those structures are going to be dismantled, not through force or anything like that, but they'll be dismantled through the kind of revolt that people would bring is through their actions, people will start showing that they prefer to actually be on their own.
Yeah.
And work for themselves, not for a boss, but work with a company, not for a company. People will start, so you'll see a different trend that's going to start showing that actually people prefer the idea of working from home, the idea of homeschooling, and all these things that we say are the new normal now. Very soon, all those things are being brought forward, and we're going to see more of it. And if you are still sitting and thinking, I want to be this type of leader and so on, there's a lot of disappointments, in my view, coming your way. So I think really workplaces of the future would operate the same way as bees operate in a beehive. There's very little control and monitoring, but everybody's respected as a grown-up and can be trusted that they know what they're doing and they'll do what is best for the beehive, the whole beehive. And therefore, no one is more important than the other. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And, I tend to agree with what you're saying in terms of how the world of work is evolving, and and it's going to bring us to the conversation about COVID and how that's also impacting us. And going forward, I find it interesting what you're saying about the system being dismantled not by force but just by people choosing to do things in a different way. So I find that very interesting, and I do believe that it is something that we are starting to observe, especially amongst entrepreneurs. There's more entrepreneurs in the world. So this will be very interesting to see if people start to get that beehive mentality, where, as you say, we trust that you are adult enough to contribute and to do what you need to do for the collective of all.
Yeah.